And in the last hour, we heard that energy bills are going to rise by 6.4% in April, in a couple of months from now. And that means that UK households could see their bills going up by £111 every year on average.
It's the third consecutive increase. Ofgem says a recent spike in wholesale prices is behind the rise. Martin Lewis joins us now. Well, it's right there in the range of what you predicted, Martin Lewis. So for those people thinking, I'm not on a fix, what am I going to do? What advice have you got this morning?
Well, I would suggest everybody who is on the price cap, which is about 2/3 of homes, anyone who's on a standard tariff. So if your tariff is called something like standard variable or flexible or flex, you are on a price cap tariff. The price cap is a pants cap. Get off it if you possibly can and do a fix. Just let me talk you through what's happening a little bit, if I may.
Yes.
So, yes, you're right. The average rise that we're seeing is 6.4%. I do hate the annualised typical use figure because no one's on typical use. And more importantly, we give this price as a year, but the April price cap only lasts 3 months and then it will change again in July. So, in reality, the best way to think of this for most people in simple terms is for every £100 you are paying on energy now, you will be paying around £106.50p for energy from April and in May and in June, and then it will change again in July. But when we dig through what actually happens, remember what the price cap is it's the regulator setting the maximum standing charge, the daily charge you pay just for having energy, and unit rate that energy firms can charge on their standard tariff, the standard tariff, the tariff you're on if you've never moved, the tariff you're on if you've come off your fix and not done everything, which is what most people are on. Now, it's actually quite interesting what's happening this time. On electricity, on average, we're seeing the unit rate, the amount you pay for each unit of electricity you use, going up by around 9%. But the standing charge, the amount you pay each day, is going down by 11%. So it's the unit rates going up, the standing charge coming down. On gas, the unit rate is going up by around 10%, and the standing charge is only going up by 3%. It's still going up. So when you actually dig into that in more detail, lower users, if you use, say, £100 a month, you're going to see actually quite a small rise, if any rise at all, depending on where you live. Higher users, those paying over £200 a month, are going to see a much bigger than the headline rise, probably a rise of 7 to 10%. Now, the other problem with saying that, and the difficulty of explaining it, is these prices are regionalised, which means while the standing charge on electricity is dropping in most of the country, if you're in the northwest of Wales or you're in London, your electricity standing charge is going to go up. And we're seeing a bigger regional variance. So there is a lot going on at the moment, and it's difficult to summarise, but if I did summarise it, your prices are going up by about 6%, and the more you use, the more they're going to go up.
Martin, this is the third consecutive rise, isn't it? So we're seeing a real trend here, and that begs the question, how long should people be fixing for?
Well, the problem is we don't have predictions more than a year out. The cheaper fixes are all in for the 1 year and 18-month type range. So I'd be looking at that. Now, let's just do some maths here. Currently, the cheapest fixes on the market are around 4% less than today's price cap. But that price cap is going up by 6% in April, so the gap will increase. So if you fix now, you'll be paying 10%, you'll save instantly, but be paying 10% less than the April price. Then it's currently predicted in July, that will drop a bit, but it'll still be more than it is right now, go up again in October, stay about the same over the next year. So it will still be more than you're paying now. So if those predictions are right, and let's remember, if there's peace in Ukraine, hopefully, and peace in the Middle East, or the US pumps loads of oil out, energy prices could come down. But if some of that's been factored in, but if those predictions are right, fixing now on the cheapest possible fix will be a substantial savings. But 3 things to tell you about that. First of all, I wouldn't fix until probably this afternoon because there are some cheaper tariffs I hear coming online. So I'd be waiting until about 1 or 2 o'clock before you fix. Second, when you do a comparison, get yourself on a comparison site because your cheapest depends on where you live and how much you use. When you do a comparison, remember the savings shown are compared to what you against the current price cap. So they won't look big. They might say 30, 40 quid a year, but that price cap is going up. And third, if you're going to do a comparison, get yourself on a whole of market by default comparison site, like my Money Saving Expert comparison site, not one that hides tariffs that don't pay it, which most comparison sites do, or you won't see all the cheapest tariffs on the market.
Martin, when we spoke to the Home Secretary a couple of minutes ago, she told us that the government is going to extend the warm homes discount to 2.7 million people. Can you explain what the warm homes discount is and what makes you qualify for that? Is it something you'd have to apply for, or is it a discount applied to your bill?
Well, that's the primary change that is coming. So it's a £150 payment to households on low incomes. And I'm supportive of the change they're doing, but let's remember, a lot of that £150 will be eaten up by the price rise that's coming in, but still, it gives people support. Now, currently, you automatically get the warm home discount if you're on the guaranteed element of pension credit. You also can get it if you're on a low income and on means-tested benefits like universal credit, which is both for people in work and out of work on low incomes, and other means-tested benefits, but only then if you meet this thing called the high energy home criteria. In other words, your home is inefficient. Now, I've long campaigned that the way that is done is just, it's been ludicrous. It's deprived many vulnerable people because it's not done on an actual assessment. It's done by evaluation, or you need an energy certificate, and it penalises people for making their homes more efficient. It's a terrible system. They're getting rid of that criteria. And that's where these 2.7 million people will come from. So what the increase will be, people who are on means-tested benefits, but their home didn't qualify as a high energy use home. Right. So it will spread the net. It is a good thing to do. I mean, it's a sticking plaster. It won't get rid of the scar, but it is certainly an improvement. Right. The other big change coming in that is proposed anyway is for the roughly 1 million people who have old debts from the peak of the energy crisis, who are never paying them but are still being chased for them, and the cost of their debt is on all of our bills, and the cost of chasing them all our bills. There is a debt write-off scheme being looked at, which would write off the older debt to put people back in a position so that they can pay what they're currently paying. It's likely to be cost neutral for everyone's bills because it just changed the way the support is going, although more details are needed on that. So there are a couple of good things coming out, but none of it gets rid of the fact that bills are going up.
Martin, this has been really useful. We're out of time, but in not much more than one sentence, when's the optimum time to do your next meter reading, your self-meter reading?
Just before the 1st of April.
Thank you.
OK. And you have a special interview tonight, don't you?
Yeah, I've got my live show. I'm going to talk you through all this in real detail. I'm going to be taking people's questions live at 8 o'clock. But I also have the head of Ofgem, Jonathan Bailey, coming on. He will be taking my questions and your questions, no holds barred. I had a discussion with him. I said, look, 2/3 of the questions I've got when I've been asking for questions for you are angry, and I'm going to put them to you. You need to justify to people why these prices are going up. It's a must-watch, 8 o'clock on ITV tonight. I'll be giving you information. You'll also get to see what the boss of the regulator actually says.
Brilliant.
Martin
Thank you, Martin.
Lewis, thanks very much indeed. Interestingly, the leader of the Lib Dems, Ed Davey, says scrap the energy bill price rise for pensioners who have been stripped of their winter fuel payments. He's calling on the government to just get rid of that for the 10 million who no longer are eligible for the winter fuel allowance.